don't like sales. I hate sales.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
so bad at it. I just get to the point. I hate asking for money. I'm a person that just hates to ask for the.
Yeah.
So I'm a really bad closer.
You are not alone, right? And this is one of those things that a lot of people, and I totally get it, is, you hope that the product's going to be good enough. They say, right, I'm going to put this out there and it's going to be good enough and people buy it. And some will, and that's great. Then you kind of, right, I'll overlay with some marketing and put some really pretty stuff around it, and that might get a few more. But actually, if you're really, really going to grow the business as big as it might otherwise be, then having just a handle on sales is really important. And it's actually probably what I spend most of my time in, because entrepreneurs just like you love the product build, kind of get the marketing stuff, the creative stuff, but the sales stuff is just like really,
Yeah.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. And Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. And you can find it on all good podcasting streams and on YouTube. And today my guest is McCallion, and he's a business growth execution specialist. Driving growth in small business enterprises is hard and getting harder. And Mal is a veteran of startups, including Zoopla and Primelocation, and has spent decades studying small business enterprise growth. And today we're going to be talking about business growth execution, and that's also the name of his podcast. So we'll discover some strategies that you can use today to improve the growth of your small business enterprise. Welcome, Mal.
Hey, great to see you. Thanks a lot for having me on this show, Rose.
So tell me a little bit about your podcast first. It sounds quite interesting. Who are your guests mainly, and what do you discuss?
Oh, thanks for asking. So essentially the focus on the Growth Execution podcast is all about how you can execute growth, more than just the theory side. It's about sort of what the steps are you can take kind of day by day that are going to get you to business growth faster. And I kind of obsess really around three things: product, marketing, and sales. Now, obviously, there's loads of other things in business that you can kind of get involved with, important stuff like HR, legal, financial, that sort of stuff. But without product, marketing, and sales, pretty much you will not be building the business that you can build, and the other kind of the other areas of business won't be as productive or as busy, I guess, as anything else. And the people we got on the podcast, business owners, entrepreneurs, people who launch business, people who have either successfully grown themselves or are in the throes of launching and building businesses, just interesting people with good stories to tell. Kind of like...
Yeah, well, we'd always want interesting people with a good story to tell. That's the whole point of a podcast, isn't it?
Exactly that. And it's what I love about it as well, is just kind of discovering there's so many similarities as well as differences. People really think that it is very easy when you are building your own business to think you're the only person doing it, right? And that actually nobody has ever been here before, and this is just like you versus the world, and how on earth is anything ever going to come to right? But actually, just by talking to people and particularly hearing about sort of almost near-death experiences like failures and things like that, it just gives you that real kind of context around where you are.
I'm the same. I love doing what I'm doing. I like talking to people that are, either starting their journey, or mine obviously are mainly people that have, been through that journey and are coaching others and offering obviously people advice or solutions to their problems. So we're on the same path but different. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what I love as well, right? There are many different ways to kind of to help people and to support people in their journeys. And I know that you do a lot of work kind of around, around the periphery, not specifically always business as well. So, and congratulations and thank you for that. I think that there is a lot of, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of things that you can bring from outside business into business as well. And, look, we're all kind of just sort of humans trying to do the best and to build, things and make a difference, I guess, as well.
Absolutely. So I've noticed your background, your backdrop there behind you. Would you mind walking me through some of those strategies that you've got written up there? They look, really interesting.
Thank you. So it's based on the periodic table for everybody who remembers their kind of school GCSEs and various kind of exams and so on. So what it is, it's broken down into 15 different elements, right? But they're within 3 disciplines. So I've said product, marketing, and sales. So just to pick kind of one out, the product side of the 5, product concept is the first one, right? And I have a fundamental belief that if you know really why you're doing what you're doing, then everything else is much more straightforward. So I kind of spend a lot of time with clients focusing on right, why are you solving this problem? Okay, and it's kind of that is the heart of almost any business, and certainly any business that's going to grow, is the answer to the question, why am I solving this problem? And the ability of others in the business to be able to answer that the same as you. All right, so once you've got that concept, why am I solving this problem? Then it just kind of drops down into almost everything else. So it makes things easy. Like if you're thinking about partnering with another business, you look for one that kind of shares the same sort of values as you, right? If you're looking at marketing content, then the content you're going to put out there is going to be based on what your product concept is. So by making it so central to everything, by ensuring that whenever you talk about it, it's consistent and it's coherent, what you're doing is allowing people to really understand you and really get to know your business. And one of the hardest things, particularly, this, Rose, at the moment, is about how you build trust from distance. I think it's different where you are out in Australia right now, but certainly for us over in the UK, we're in the 3rd lockdown, right? This is just keeps going on. And that means that more and more businesses are going to have to build trust remotely. We haven't been able to go and catch up the way that we would like to. Those deals being done perhaps B2B, or even, from a consumer perspective, you can't go and poke around a shop. So you've got to build that trust from distance. And the best way of doing that is to have a really consistent message and the ability to understand that through product concept. So that's the kind of most important one as far as I'm concerned. Marketing content we touched on as well here. That's element 8. That's all about making sure that you are repeating the same things. So wherever you show up, wherever people encounter your brand, wherever they see you, you are exhibiting the same content, the same phraseology, the same information. You demonstrate the same values. All of that is consistent and coherent, because it's so important that people get that trust in you from everything that you show up. If you end up in a partnership with a business that completely conflicts with your core values, people notice that and kind of worry about it quite a lot. So so marketing content is kind of the big one in marketing. And over in sales process, it's one of those things. Sales in general is kind of that thing that's a bit, in a lot of businesses, a bit dirty, kind of. It kind of sits over in a corner. People put them as far away as possible. Yeah.
I don't like sales. I hate sales.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
so bad at it. I just get to the point. I hate asking for money. I'm a person that just hates to ask for the.
Yeah.
So I'm a really bad closer.
You are not alone, right? And this is one of those things that a lot of people, and I totally get it, is, you hope that the product's going to be good enough. These say, right, I'm going to put this out there and it's going to be good enough and people buy it. And some will, and that's great. Then you kind of think, right, I'll overlay with some marketing and put some really pretty stuff around it, and that might get a few more. But actually, if you're really, really going to grow the business as big as it might otherwise be, then having just a handle on sales is really important. And it's actually probably what I spend most of my time in, because entrepreneurs just like you love the product build, kind of get the marketing stuff, the creative stuff, but the sales stuff is just like really,
yeah. I don't know that it's. I think females find it harder to close a sale than a male. I'm not sure The women I've spoken to find it difficult to get their head around a sale. They just don't like to ask for money, whether it's, our conditioning as being brought up, or it's just inherent in us. I don't know.
Yeah, and it is really interesting, and it's I haven't necessarily observed it to be entirely gender specific. I think that there are males who dislike it just as much as, but there are females who really like it. But I think it is something that is depending on how you approach it, and I think this can be trained as well. I think that there is a really nice way of selling that is very much around sort of perhaps values, and actually kind of exhibiting that, genuinely being honest and upfront about this is what you are going to get. This is the value that you are receiving as part of this product exchange. And therefore it is only fair that there is some revenue attached to it as well. But look, it is a really, really, it's a skill, I'd say. And it's something, it's a profession to a greater or lesser extent. I know everybody tries to put the salespeople in the corner as far away in the corridor if they can possibly make it, because they're noisy and they're kind of a little bit arrogant often. And, there's that kind of whole perception of them as a kind of tribe. And I consider myself one of them, by the way. But I think that there is if you can get it and if you can work on it and if you can find your right way, all right, and there will be as many different ways of selling as there are people in general. But it is something that can really pay off once you get it. And actually there are tricks that you can play around it. The first one here is sales process. And again, process sounds really boring as well, right? Sounds like, sales is bad enough. They put process in there as well. But actually, if you can get that kind of right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify these people, and then I'm going to engage with them. And engaging is quite fun, right? Just having a chat. And then you're like, well, actually, is this something you really want? Just kind of like a general, it's because this is what it costs. And you'll be surprised if the engagement process is right, then people will just go, yeah. So that's what I spend a lot of time with clients on, is how you engage.
So what, do you, the opt-in that people, get a freebie to get on a mailing list, what are your feelings around that?
So I like the idea of a free gift, but I'm really, really strong about the idea that that can't be your product. So free trials of your product, I think, are really problematic, because I think that demonstrates to the customer that there is a low value in it. And they think, well, if I just hold out, if I don't pay for it, then they'll just carry on giving me free. Or they don't value it enough to use it. And at the end of a free period, they just sit there and go, well, why don't I have another 3 months or something? A free gift, I'd say, is of value. And the things that I like in free gifts are things like scorecards. And I don't know if you've ever come across this, but there's a website called Typeform, Typefor.
Yeah.
And what it does is it allows you to ask questions that are relevant to you and relevant to your potential customers, and they will fill in details, and then you can give an automatic score to them on whatever it is. So my site, for example, Groshen.co, you can go on and you can get a score for how good your growth is likely to be. All right, so you answer multiple choice questions, and it gives you a number at the end out of 100 as to how good your growth is right now. And it's fun. And people engage with it, and they will leave their email addresses and names and stuff like that in order to get that number. So I think something like that gives value, like upfront, but is different to your core offering. So my core offering is consultancy.
So do you think about ebooks or things like that? Are they good value, do you think?
I think a cut down version is. So, for example, I have a little booklet that's your 3 launch essentials. So if you're going to launch a business, what are the 3 things you really need to focus in on? And those are product concept, marketing content, and sales process. And those are 3 chapters from my book, The Launch Handbook. So it doesn't give the whole thing away, but what it does is it gives a taster for what you can expect if you engage with us. And I think that kind of thing is useful, but it needs to be part of a process. And it really, really importantly needs to be tested. So you need to know whether that actually works or not. If you're giving something away and you're not getting any leads, or people aren't responding in enough volume, then you need to think again. But I think it's an entirely legitimate, and as provided it's giving value to customers and you're getting leads, I think those things can work really, really well.
So I don't know if you know much about websites and things, but if you do, where would the best place for an opt-in to be, on the front page or on the actual landing page for the program or whatever it is that you're offering?
So I would also, the top right corner of your website is where people look for buttons. All right, so you've got a navigation bar, which has got things like About Us and all that sort of thing. And generally with those ones, I'd only ever have 4 kind of core buttons, which is an About Us, services, contact, and home. So just, keep it very sparse, very limited up the top. But then to the far right, have a button in a different color. So a really pressable and standout color that says whatever your offering is. So for us, it's like, we'll get your growth score. All right. And then you click on that, and then you're taken into the process. So as far as, so for that, if you've got something to give away, like a booklet or a white paper or something like that, I would have get your white paper or something here, or free something. So free advice or something like that. You click there, and then it'll take you through to the landing.
Oh, that's pretty good advice. A lot of coaches say different things. So it's interesting that on that perspective, I hadn't heard of that one. So that's a really good tip.
I really find it works, and again, particularly kind of part of my background is that I have, as you said in your intro, to set up a business called Zoopla over here in the UK, which is kind of like Domain over where you are, or realestate.com.au. So it's a property portal, and we spent a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of testing to find out what, button positions and how things ought to be, and what we were searching for was the idea that if you can get people to do anything within 3 clicks, all right, so that pretty much at any point after 3 clicks, the chance of them quitting and just disappearing is significantly increased. So if you can get people to where you want them to be within 3 clicks, then you're winning.
Okay, 3 clicks it is then. That's really good. I hadn't heard of that one either. I know that when you've got menus and sub-menus, that they'll only go to the 3rd level. They won't go any further because it's just too much to look through. But having 3 clicks on, and what about touch points? Now, I've often heard that it takes now 7 touch points to know, like, and trust you. Is that still the same, or has that gone up?
So Google is always a good place to start with this. Obviously, they know a thing or two about advertising, and their most recent data, which I think is from 2017, it might be from later than that, is that there are the 3 numbers that you have to pay attention to. Right, the first of them is the number 11. So 11 is the number of touches now that you need. People need to see your brand 11 times on average before they feel comfortable buying from you. The second number is 7. But that's 7 hours. Now, 7 hours sounds like a phenomenally long time, all right? But if you think about it, you probably, when you're kind of pottering around the internet and you're thinking about getting something, all that sort of stuff, you do try and find as much information as possible. So it's things like videos, like podcasts, like white papers, like books, like booklets, whatever you can do to help people to spend 7 hours with you is going to be really well spent and a great investment, because people do. And again, perhaps particularly right now, they do want to make sure that they're seeing the right kind of the business that they really want to use. And the 3rd number is the number 4, and that is 4 different environments. All right, so they want to see you not just in an advert on Facebook 11 times and sit there staring at it for 7 hours, which they won't do. But they want to see in 4 different environments. So it might be a podcast, it might be a video, it might be a book, it might be a blog, it might be, I don't know, being interviewed on the TV. They want to see in 4 different environments and get the same message all the way through for those 7 hours and those 11 touch points.
11 is quite a lot, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, there's so much choice now out there, and people really want to, and I think they all from a kind of ethical viewpoint as well, right? There are a lot of people now, they're ethical consumers. They want to understand a lot more about the business rather than just, seeing the first thing that they come across and jumping at it. I think there's so much more now that is required to be done to build that trust and build people's understanding of what you stand for.
All right. So, other than just what's the name of your podcast again, Mel?
So it's the Growth Execution Podcast.
Yeah.
We
Can I
every
find it?
Saturday morning. It's available on all the good platforms. And yes, it's all about growth execution with great guests like your good self, and ensuring that if you are an entrepreneur or someone looking to grow your business, then that's a good place to start. I would say.
Perfect. And what else can they find you?
So Growtion.co is my website. So Growtion, GROWTION.co, Growtion.co. And yeah, there's loads of stuff on there. We've got like daily tips. We've got webinars. We've got a growth execution group on Facebook as well. So yeah, do come and join us there. And we'd be delighted to have you along.
Perfect. Any last words of wisdom, please?
So what I would really focus on within any business right now is around personalized. All right. So people who, everybody has been kind of atomized for quite a long time right now. So I think if you can speak directly to people, touch on what you know of their interests, try and make it as tailored as possible to them as individuals rather than as a homogenous group, I think that's really where kind of 2021 plus is going to be in terms of marketing and building.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I think 2020 sort of put business on the back foot slightly, and to move forward, we have to change our processes and our way that we think.
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely right.
All right, Mel. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll touch base very soon.
We will indeed. I really appreciate being on. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Rose. Take care. See you soon.
Bye-bye.